I am calling this meeting back to order, whether we are actually in order or not. We are on item number K of new business, Ashley High School's Marine Science Memorandum of Understanding for 2019-2020, Appendix U, Dr. LaShawn Smith.
Yes, would ask the board's approval of the Memorandum of Understanding with Cape Fear Community College for the Marine Science Program at Ashley High School. The document just outlines our responsibilities and obligations, as well as the community college's responsibilities and obligations for the program.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve item number K?
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, any discussion? I would like to say I'm glad to see that the numbers for next year are going, or have gone up. The number of applications are going up. That's a very good sign. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, all those, bless you.
Bless you.
Sorry.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Item number L, curriculum updates, Appendix V, Dr. Smith.
Yes, would ask the board's approval for the additions to Holly Shelter Middle School electives. Our folks at Holly Shelter are doing some really creative things. They're offering a social studies elective called WOW, which is focusing on geography and culture, and also martial arts, a STEM course, and Battle of the Books. So would ask the board's approval to add these courses to their electives.
That would be non-contact martial arts.
Yes.
You hope it'll be non-contact. Yeah. How did you find an instructor for that?
Well, one of my PE teachers is actually certified, and just with all of the changes and trying to keep the kids excited about coming to school, we did a lot of polling and questioning, and that was one of the questions they were interested in.
Yeah. Can board members audit the class occasionally? All right.
All right.
Cool. All right. Is there a motion to approve item number L, curriculum updates?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Who had the second?
That man right there.
Okay. Beat you to the punch. Beat you to the Taekwondo kick. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved.
Thank you.
Oh, you're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you.
Item number M, change order to CMAR agreement for Trask Middle School renovations, Appendix X. Eddie Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually have good news and bad news. The good news is, with approval of the change order tonight, Board of Education has awarded all projects, either completed or awarded all projects from the 2014 bond. And we've completed the scope that we originally set out to do and advertised and told the public that we would do. So that's the good news. The bad news is this is the last project. So I was very happy to hear that the board was looking towards a future bond and look forward to working with you on that. We all know that there's still a lot of facility needs that we need to work together to address. One of which is this project, Trask Middle School. It is included in the 2014 bond. This is a CM at risk project, and the change order tonight will establish the guaranteed maximum price, or the GMP, at $9,971,804. We ask the board's approval of the change order tonight, which will also authorize Barnhill Contracting to proceed with the work.
Do I hear a motion to approve item number M?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right. right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. And we're sort of officially done with the old bond. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. And Mr. Anderson, you're up for item number N, consideration of bids for Hurricane Florence roof repairs, Appendix Y.
Thank you. This is only good news. We only have a few projects left to award that are as a result of, or repairs as a result of Hurricane Florence. It has been a challenge in some cases to find contractors available to do this work. And in this particular project, we combine the roofing needs of 14 different schools into one bid package, and we're as flexible as possible with our schedule to get interest in this project. We were able to bid the project. Bids were received on May 9th, and we're recommending the board award the contract for construction to Curtis Construction Company in the amount of $704,925.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve item number N?
Moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Item number O, renewal of commercial general liability insurance, Appendix Z. Mr. Bullard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You are insured for general liability with Liberty Mutual. You renew your liability coverage on an annual basis. We sought bids for the general liability through a broker that we use. Unfortunately, we were unable to obtain competing bids, although it's not as bad as it sounds, because apparently the other insurance companies looked at the quote that Liberty was providing and were not able to beat the quote, so they were not even able to provide a bid. So the quote for this year is $170,034 for $2 million of coverage. That is a 16% increase from last year, primarily due to the history of claims made against the policy. Some years you have very few claims, some years you have a few more. This past year we had a few more than average claims that were made. They weren't necessarily paid out, but they were made. That increase does not look as bad if when you consider the fact that the general liability coverage is bundled with your workers' comp coverage, and in a minute I will get to the renewal of workers' comp, and you will see that the workers' comp renewal from Liberty Mutual is essentially is almost a no-dollar increase. So even though you have a substantial increase on general liability, you have a very negligible increase on workers' comp, and you have to buy one to get the other. So my recommendation is to renew with Liberty Mutual as recommended.
All right, you've heard the recommendation. Do I hear a motion to approve item number O? Anyone?
Moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Bullard, no concerns with their service they provided?
No, they provided excellent claims handling services, in my opinion.
And how many claims last year?
I didn't bring that information. I'll be glad to provide that to you. I just don't have that at this point.
I was just curious, I mean, was it a 16% increase in claims, or, I mean, it's a...
I don't think
kind
it
of a large
correlates
number.
directly to that. I think there were a couple of claims that that could have been large claims that weren't paid out, but whenever a claim is made, the insurance company sets aside a reserve for potential payouts, and then at the end of the year, if they have a large reserve, they use that to adjust the premium. If those reserves are not used, then in future years, the premium could actually go down, or your increase would be a lot less.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Item number P, renewal of business automobile insurance, Appendix AA. Mr. Bullard.
This is the recommendation to renew your business automobile coverage with Liberty Mutual as well for $4 million of coverage. You have to maintain your insurance on the vehicles that you own except your yellow school buses. By law, the state of North Carolina carries your liability on your yellow school buses, but local school boards have to carry their own liability insurance on your white activity buses, as well as your other vehicles such as your maintenance vehicles and your driver's ed vehicles, and you have about 180 such vehicles. So the quote this year from Liberty Mutual was $130,592, which was again a substantial increase from last year of 21.6%. That was because of the claim history as well as general increases for commercial auto policies across the state. However, I am recommending to offset the increase by reducing a component of your coverage called uninsured motorist or underinsured motorist, which is commonly abbreviated as UM or UIM coverage, from $1 million down to $85,000, and that would essentially save you the same amount of the increase, and which would result in the total renewal premium being $108,271.
Why was it at 1 million before?
That is the standard amount that the insurance company places on there unless the client elects to reduce it.
If we were to do the 85,000, that would be on us if there was some kind of incident where there was an uninsured or underinsured driver. That would be for one of our employees or someone using our vehicles that would relate to, correct?
Yes, it would be a situation where a third party runs into a vehicle that we are owning and operating, and it's the third party's fault. And if that third party is not insured or doesn't have enough insurance, that's when the occupants of the vehicle that we own could be covered by that UIM coverage. So essentially, it's the school board buying insurance for somebody else, which you're not required by law to do.
Right, but if there was some kind of accident or incident and that was to occur, say there was a lot more than $85,000 worth of injury or whatever.
Right.
How would the employee, would we be still covering the costs related to the accident?
If it's our employee, and they are on working at the time of the accident, then their injury is going to be covered by workers' comp. So all of their medical bills are going to be paid by workers' comp, and their lost wages are going to be compensated under workers' comp, plus any disability that they may have.
Seems like a smart idea.
All right, any further discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve item number P?
Moved.
Second, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Item Q, renewal of workers' compensation insurance, Appendix BB, Mr. Bullard.
So this is the third insurance renewal I'm recommending, again with Liberty Mutual. Like I mentioned before, there is a negligible increase in the premium from last year. You have a large deductible policy, which means the board pays the first $100,000 of any claim. After that, the insurance kicks in. The annual premium quoted is $372,228. That's only $100 more than the premium from last year. You have a separate contract with a subsidiary company of Liberty Mutual called Helmsman Management Services, which serves as your third-party administrator for workers' comp claims. They do the investigation, they handle the payments to the injured employee. The Helmsman is requesting a $5,000 increase from $42,000 to $47,000 in their annual contract. That's an 11.9% increase, and the reason for that is Helmsman says that it based its quote last year on incomplete information and is simply correcting what it says its premium should have been last year. So overall, you're renewing for $5,100 more than last year, which is less than 1% increase.
You mean overall between the three,
No, just for the workers' comp.
just for the workers' comp, okay.
There'd be basically no increase on the auto because of the deduction in UM/UIM and a 16% increase in the general liability. If you added them all three together, it's probably around 5% or less than 5% increase.
Okay.
I'd have to calculate it though.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve item number Q, workers' compensation insurance
So moved.
renewal? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Item number R, Blair Elementary School right-of-way to Department of Transportation, Appendix CC. Mr. Bullard?
Yes, the Department of Transportation widened and made improvements to Market Street, Highway 17 in front of Blair Elementary School. They needed an easement from the school board on the school board's property for the right-of-way and some utility access. It's mainly a 20-foot wide access easement. There's a map at the end of the documentation, although there are some little rectangular pieces that they're using, that they want to use for utility or drainage that are shown on the map as well. We negotiated with them. We're not able to come to terms. They needed to go ahead and take the property, which they have the right to do under eminent domain or condemnation to meet their construction schedule. So they went ahead and instituted the condemnation lawsuit. We since negotiated with them and were able to reach agreement on the price of the value of the property or the interest in the property taken. They initially offered $74,225 to the school board. We were able to get them to raise that by $9,600. So the total amount that they are willing to pay now is $83,825. I've discussed that with Mr. Anderson. He discussed it with an appraiser, I believe, and we are satisfied that that is a fair and adequate compensation for the property rights that the DOT took from the school board in front of Blair Elementary School. And subject to the board's approval, the lawsuit that DOT instituted would be resolved by way of the consent judgment, which is attached, which describes the property, states the settlement amount, and includes all the other verbiage that the Department of Transportation insisted on going into the judgment document.
It doesn't look like it from the map, but is this going to impact the school in any way?
Eddie, can you answer that? My understanding is it has no substantial impact, but I'll let Eddie.
It has no impact. We were aware of this and actually coordinated with the designers with NCDOT prior to construction and with the design of the Blair project as well. So we have no problem with it, and it doesn't adversely affect the school site at all.
All right, thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve item number R?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Thank you, Mr. Bullard and Mr. Anderson. Item number S, Memorandum of Understanding between New Hanover County Health Department, Coastal Horizons, and New Hanover County Schools, Appendix DD. Dr. Rick Holliday.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Coastal Horizons is our mental health provider at our day treatment program at Lake Forest, and they also have some medical capabilities, and they work with the health department and our school staff to provide some medical care for the students at LFA. So ask that you please approve this MOU.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Moving on to item number 15, correspondence. I would like to share, there are a couple things at your place. First thing I'd like to share is the letter from Southeast Area Technical High School. We received a gift from CTEC, and you can see it over there if everyone looks to the left. Everyone can see that the gift that was made by the CTEC students of a whirligig based on the book. So I asked Tabitha, it was brought to the brought to central office. I thought it would be nice to have here at the Board of Ed Center, since it was a gift to the board. If someone else has a suggestion on where it should reside, that's fine, but I just thought it would be nice to have it here with all of the artwork. But I just wanted to call everyone's attention to that, so I thought that was a really nice gift.
Does it actually in any way actually act like a whirligig?
You can spin the front, I believe, yes.
So, okay, so it doesn't, good. I don't want to see it broken either.
Yep, so I think everyone knows that they are the sea dragons, so that is obviously relevant to them.
Cool.
So, yeah, very
Good
nice
job.
gift. So, yes, I wanted everyone to see that and see the letter, so I think everyone has a copy of the letter. Second thing is, I wanted Mr. Bullard to talk about this. I received a letter from Wilmington Faith Against Gun Violence, and they also passed out a couple of cards, one with a logo, one I believe without a logo, and it talks about gun safety. And I just wanted to have the board be aware of that. I do believe they were hoping to maybe have that passed out to schools. And so, Mr. Bullard, I believe you had sent a communication about that today.
Yes, this is a request for the board to distribute a brochure to your students. And you have a policy on that. And so as written, the policy would not allow this because the policy restricts what types of materials can be distributed to students. Basically, items from the school system itself, instructional materials, or items from youth organizations, nonprofit organizations that provide activities or academic opportunities for youth. The reason the policy was enacted was because whenever any public entity opens up a mode of communication, the legal term is called a public forum. So if the board opens up a public forum for distribution of information to students, then other groups can come and ask that their materials be distributed to your students as well. And since you're a government entity, you cannot censor based on viewpoint on a particular topic. So if you were to allow this group to distribute their flyer, then other groups that may have opinions on gun safety or gun rights or gun violence would have the right to distribute their materials to your students as well. You couldn't pick one and say, we're going to let you distribute, and then the other say, we're not going to let you distribute because we like your message or we don't like your message, because that would be looked upon as government censorship at that point. Now, obviously, you don't have to distribute anything that is obscene or that advocates illegal acts or things like that. But as long as they stay within those lines, then if you've opened up a public forum, you're really opening up to anybody and everybody who has an opinion on that particular topic or issue, some of which you may strongly even disagree with. So in the past, the board has chosen not to open up those types of public forums. Even though the board may, I don't know this group, the board may think this message is a good message, the board may think they disagree with it, but by saying that you're not going to allow it does not necessarily say you agree or disagree with the group's message. You're just saying you're choosing not to open a public forum by allowing groups to distribute to your students. There is a way to get information to your students concerning guns, gun violence. There are publications that are prepared by government agencies, law enforcement agencies, that you could distribute to your students without opening up a public forum, because that information is coming from another government entity.
So that would be, that's like, if you're trying to do, say, like alcohol awareness, if it was coming from like another government source, drug awareness, things like that. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, I'm saying, like, for instance, in this particular case, you may have a request by a gun rights group to distribute their materials, or a gun manufacturer who wanted to distribute their materials. And then you would have trouble saying no, because you would have already allowed this group to distribute materials advocating certain points on that issue.
As a board, you really have two choices. It's all or nothing.
Yeah.
And so this board has chosen to limit the distribution to those things prescribed in your policy, which is basically student-directed. So this falls outside of your current policy.
Well, it's all or nothing on this issue. We don't have to allow like pro-life materials or pro-choice
No,
materials.
it's all or nothing. If you allow a limited public forum for any issue, then you have to allow it for all issues.
For all issues or all perspectives on that issue?
Now, it would be all issues. So if you say, let's say you say yes to this as a gun issue, and then another public group came forward and said, you let this gun group present their material, you have to let me present my material. So as a board in the past, you've taken a more restrictive approach in terms of what you'll say, and what you'll allow to be distributed. Once you allow a group to distribute something, you can't restrict another group from distributing.
Well, I think we should look, at the federal government websites, trying to find some gun safety information. This is a pressing problem. We focus a lot on, mass shootings, and the vast majority of gun deaths from our students is gonna be accidental, it's gonna be stuff like this. So this is information that our students should have. And if we could do it another way, that would.
We have gun safety classes I've talked to Dr. Markley about this. There's actually rural counties that actually have gun safety classes.
Good idea.
So you could, if you're interested in providing information to students about gun safety, we could talk to some of the rural counties that have actually specific classes and ask them what type of information they have with gun safety.
It's a good idea.
But as far as this crowd, we don't want to do that.
This is a
don't
gun
think
control
so.
advocacy group.
Well, I mean, you take the group out of it. You just
Yep.
don't want to open yourself up to having to, every meeting be approving or all of these requests coming through.
That's what we would have, that would be the alternative, because once you open up one, then you'd have to approve everyone that came through, or disapprove, or whatever.
Once the crack's open, or Valita gets enough of these requests as it is already.
Well, honestly, I think that we could possibly go for that. Have it, that, from my point of view, to have the opportunity to look at things that are relevant to our kids in a different light, instead of just not saying any, because I just brought up, as far as gun control, this is gun education from where I briefly looked at it. And one of the biggest killers of our teenagers are suicide with guns. So these are the kind of things, if we looked at, that's just one example. Mm-hmm. But if there might be other things that might be very important to our kids that might come across here, and if we have a blank coverage, then we won't even have the opportunity to look at it. That's my opinion.
You're bringing politics into schools, and I don't think
That's not necessarily politics.
No,
Well,
this is
It could be. and this
I'll send
is.
the,
Could be, that's why we could all decide.
I will send the board the current policy, And if you have suggestions that you want to take to policy committee for changes,
Okay.
we'll,
Do things like this exist in the schools, in like the counselor's office?
Good
Like
point.
issues
You
that,
said that ROTC has some,
well, I mean, ROTC, most of our ROTC units have airsoft rifles, and they practice gun safety with ROTC, and they also do competitions. Now, in terms of the preventive side of the house,
yeah.
Dr. Holletta, you're probably better versed on the student service side of this with our counselors. I know our counselors, meet one-on-one, but do we have a prescribed program?
Are we saying, I'm having a hard time understanding what y'all are saying up there.
Are you saying like, can this be like just laid on a counselor's desk? Is that what you're saying?
You mean that?
As
Do
I
we provide
understand,
anything?
and Mr. Bullard will have to correct me if I'm wrong, as I understand, if schools create that limited forum table that we've talked about, they have to allow everything to be put on that
he's
table.
asking for a
Okay.
book, let's say, a book for gun safety.
Right.
That's basically what he's, like, for example, if you have some sort of educational book for gun safety, how to use a gun, how to handle.
But I
a
think
gun.
what the board was asking is, do we do any work with our students already around guns, around violence?
I'm not aware of any. However, we can do whatever you want us to do. We can find that information from government sources. Generally, the sheriff's department will work with us if that's what you would like for us to do. But we don't spend a lot of time talking about gun safety.
We should.
What about with parents? I mean, they were talking about distributing this to our schools, but what about information for parents along this topic?
They would take it home and read it, that's the idea.
Still got to allow the next group that comes in.
That's what I'm saying, so it
and the
all
next
falls
group, the
under.
next group, the
Problem
next group.
becomes, you have a captive audience with students. And a lot of organizations take guns out of it, want to access that captive audience, because they know they can send it home with their students, and it'll find its way to a parent. And that opens up all kinds of interesting conversations. And Dr. Smith, you got your hand up?
I was gonna say, I believe in the past, we've offered hunter safety courses, as a part of our curriculum.
Yep.
I'll check back here with, Mr. Bryant, if you're familiar with that.
Hunter safety courses?
Hunter safety courses, I think we used to offer that at New Hanover High School.
It was probably associated with the wildlife class, I think.
So
Yeah,
does
we
this-
used to stuff raccoons and everything else in the wildlife class as well. It's been a long time since we've done that. I mean, and gun safety
And that's
has,
what you find is the hunter
has,
safety class.
that was a taxidermy class, I'm sorry, wildlife taxidermy, whatever. But we have, gun safety has been a different ballgame for a long time. And back in the early 80s, when I was coaching out at Laney, it was not unusual for us to see staff members and students walking across the football practice field towards what we used to call the CP&L right-of-way, carrying their shotguns, going to do dove hunting during dove season. And nobody thought anything about it, but that was 1982. So, again, there's a lot of hot-button issues around that. And it's not just that. Like Dr. Markley said, there are groups that come to us almost on a weekly basis asking for us to distribute their information in the schools. And some of it's good and some of it's not. So we have to be very, very careful with that.
So does this apply, I know that I receive summer camp flyers and athletics flyers. Is it pretty much anybody that wants to?
Our policy is that if it provides opportunities for students like camps, that would fit within the policy. One of the classic ones that you hear about all the time are folks, Gideon Bibles, who have wanted to pass out Bibles at schools, and that's another one of those all or nothing kind of propositions.
That's a Second Amendment situation too. That's why discussion wouldn't be a bad idea when we have certain ideas that they could affect positively our kids, instead of just saying no. That's why we're elected.
And it's a policy that's been on the books, and obviously, if it's something the board wants to take a look at, like I said, we'll send you the policy in your weekly packet, so you can review that. And if you have suggestions, we can take them to the policy committee.
All right, another rather hot button issue is the question of senior project. And that has come up a time or two, and I think we're gonna maybe think about taking another look at what we can do around senior project. I've had a teacher come to me earlier in the year, Michael Harper, who was mentioned earlier as one of the AIG teachers, and he has a course proposal that he passed to me, and it could be incorporated in something that we were talking about around senior project. You know, all this is preliminary. I just wanted the board to think about it, what you all think about senior project. If you've thought about senior project, maybe get some, before we even put that on the table to be discussed. I think obviously we've got a ways to go, but I wanted you all to take a look at this course proposal. I want to pass it to Dr. Smith as well. It was intriguing to me because I think it works on skills that we talk about, soft skills, and I think it's something that maybe could be incorporated into something. If we rework senior project, it would be something that I think would be interesting to incorporate as part of what maybe the new senior project could be, if anything. So I'll give this to Tabitha and she can make copies and put it in the packet for next time. So that's really all I have for correspondence. Does anybody else have anything they want to share? We've got.
I have a quick one that's kind of interesting, if you'll bear with me. I spoke to a lactation consultant. And she mentioned to me that in New Hanover County Schools, there is no place, and this is a trend. A lot of people have their babies come to work, they take a lunch break, they breastfeed or they pump. There's no place for our female teachers to breastfeed.
Well,
I
did it.
I actually talked to several teachers in several different schools who have breastfed in the bathroom.
Or you lock your doors, or you go to a place where you can find
and so this is something, I mean, it's come up a couple times, and I just thought it might be something that we consider finding a space in our schools instead of the bathroom for our new mothers to breastfeed.
Well, I actually went through that, and the school is very accommodating. And I could actually use my room, or I could use the teacher's lounge in certain spots, or I could use bathrooms. So that would be an open communication within the school.
Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised that a principal wouldn't offer a nurse's room or some other location.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't want the nurse's room. I mean, that's
John?
where the sick kids are.
Who's over there laughing?
Well, I really hate to weigh in on this exciting topic, but I kind of need to. Every year we send out and we actually do it about every so often because people kind of forget, but we do have, that we got through the Lactation Centers of America, different types of rules that we ask the principals to use. They are to find a safe and secure place. Granted, it is sometimes very hard to do, so that women can do that. And it's based on school. We've had a lot of talks about it. The New Hanover County Lactation Association has contacted me, and we've talked about how we do that, and I will send that back out to principals so that to keep them aware that they are to provide that service.
We'll make sure you get a copy.
There's an association.
There is.
The important thing to note here is that you cannot deny anyone to do this, and it comes up occasionally where a parent will complain about someone coming to school and wanting to do that. And we have to say they have to be allowed to do that. And it comes up occasionally that a parent or someone will complain about that activity. And we have to say that you have to allow that.
Now,
So we're very clear about that.
We've had requests in the past for teachers to be able to lactate in their classroom or pump in their classroom. And we have had to say no to that because it is disruptive, obviously, and worked with the principals to try to find that time. So it's something we have tried to deal with, but I will get you that and we'll send that out again.
Right.
Shipping containers.
Oh, that's an idea.
You've been trying to find a way to get.
don't need that much
space. They rent for $1,000 a month. They rent for $1,000 a month on 17th Street. Just saying.
Where's
And they're just as good as Trent.
I believe we've covered
You
everything.
can equip them the same way.
Yes.
This is a new one for me.
All right.
Media
Any
should
other
be around
correspondence? Anyone going once, going twice, say it's gone. Item number 16, announcements. The New Hanover County Board of Education will participate in the Mosley Career Readiness Academy's graduation ceremony on June 7th, 2019 at 7 p.m. in the auditorium of Snipes Academy of Arts and Design. We did miss, there's not on here, the TPUYA graduation. That is tomorrow at
11,
11 a.m.
right here.
Right here at the Board of Ed Center. Let's make sure to get that on there for next year.
Hey, can I bring my daughter?
Item B, the New Hanover County Board of Education will participate in the regular high school graduation ceremonies for on June 8th.
Tomorrow's a fun one.
In Trask Coliseum, the campus of UNCW. New Hanover High School will begin at 9, Laney at 12:30, Ashley at 4, and Hoggard High School at 7:30. The New Hanover County Board of Ed will hold a special meeting on Tuesday, June 11th at 4:30, right here in the Board of Ed Center. The only item on the agenda is a closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 143-318-11A1 and 115C-402. The New Hanover County Board of Ed will attend the New Hanover County Schools Retirement Banquet on Thursday, June 13th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. in the cafeteria of Ashley High School. The Title IX Committee of New Hanover County Board of Ed will hold a meeting on Monday, June 17th, 2019 at 3:30 p.m. in the Board of Ed Center. The New Hanover County Board of Ed will attend the school justice signing ceremony on Tuesday, June 18th, 2019 at 11:30 a.m. on the campus of Blair Elementary. The New Hanover County Board of Ed will hold a special meeting on Tuesday, June 25th, starting at 8 a.m. in the Board of Ed Center. The only item on the agenda is a closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A1 and 115C-402. The New Hanover County Board of Ed will hold its next regular meeting on Tuesday, July 9th, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. at the Board of Ed Center right here. Phew. Item number 17, closed session. I would like to ask for a motion to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A1.
Moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in closed session.